Today, I'm joined by a fellow artist, a friend, Zabbai. Welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast.
Word, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, dude. And, I've seen you around town plenty of times at events and things like that. But I don't know your story, dude. So, my mission today is get Zabbai's story out.
Word. Where you want me to start?
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. What was it like growing up for you?
Growing up for me, so I'm born and raised Stamford, Connecticut, all day, every day. Grew up on the west side. Very, very normal childhood, making sure I didn't get in trouble, watching my friends, seeing what they did, making sure I wasn't following terrible examples. But, really had a passion for music. I played saxophone, flute, piano, drums, keys, everything, up until high school, actually. And then from high school, freshman year is when I actually started making music.
Very nice, dude. That's when you start putting your vocals on tracks?
Exactly, yeah.
I know you as a Christian artist. Were you always making Christian music?
No, not even close.
So how'd you start, dude?
So I was rapping. I was rapping by the time I was 13 up until 18. Yeah, 13 to 18, I dropped almost like 100 songs. I was like banging them out. I don't know if you remember Mixcraft.
Yeah, I do.
I had Mixcraft, that throwback program, and I was just, every time I would get home, so my parents were not fans of music, okay, of hip-hop music. So I would borrow a microphone from one of my boys here, borrow something from my boy there, and I would set it up on my parents' computer, and I would wait until they basically got out of work. So I had a system like, okay, as soon as I hear the car, shut this in here, shut that in there, and they never knew I made music, like my entire high school career. Up until I gave one of my mixtapes to my boy. He gave it to his mom. His mom worked with my mom. So my mom pulled up like, yo, I heard you making CDs. And I was like, oh, nah, ma, like, I be making like mixes of other people's stuff. It ain't my stuff. So, oh my gosh, I dodged a bullet. But yeah, I found, really the Lord found me my senior year of high school, right before 2010. So the winter of 2009. The winter of 2009 is when I had my first like spiritual interaction with the Lord. I gave my life to him, but I didn't want to give my gifts to him. And that wasn't until I graduated, really. So that would have been the summer of 2010. Yeah, so it was really the summer of 2010 that I started making like full-blown Christian hip-hop, yeah.
What was that moment in 2009?
A real freaky moment. So the best way I can explain it is there's a part in the Bible, there's a guy named Joshua, right? And Joshua followed under the command of Moses, okay? So when you read in the Bible, you see Moses, you see the Red Sea, and you see all of these crazy miracles happening, right? And basically it gets to this point where Moses is being disobedient, and so Moses can't go into the promised land. Fast forward, now we have Joshua. Joshua's fighting this crazy battle, and basically Joshua tells God to stop the sun. And the sun stood still the whole entire time until they finished this battle, right? Long story short, I had this experience, for lack of better words. I was working at Old Navy. I got my manager to attest because she thought I was wild. She thought I was smoking weed, so I was going crazy that day. And I was in this Old Navy. I'm folding clothes. It's my senior year of high school. And there was this like sunlight coming in through my window. It was like November. So I'm in front of Old Navy, I'm folding. I was like, oh, this sunlight feels nice. And then I looked up in the store, and when I looked up in the store, everyone was frozen. Now, I'm bugging out. I'm like, yo, I ain't smoking no tree today. Like, is this really happening? But the only thing that was consistent was the sunlight on my shoulder. And I heard a voice, and it said, this is what my love feels like. So I'm bugging out, right? Just like that, time speeds up. I go to my manager like, yo, did you have this experience? And she's looking at me like, Brad, do I need to send you home? And I'm like, miss, I'm telling you. So I said, okay, bet. So I remember I left, I got on the bus, and I will always remember this day because my favorite rappers back then was The Lox, Cassidy, and every time I got on the city bus, I'm playing their mixtapes. And I think, oh my God, this is the Dat Piff days, right?
I'm very familiar with the Dat Piff days, dude.
I had just downloaded one of the, it was like a Lox, Styles P, Sheek Louch project, and I couldn't listen to it, man. I got on the bus and I was like, yo, I can't listen to it because I'm freaking out like, yo, did I just hear from God? Bro, I get downtown to the bus, right? Now I'm at the downtown at the square, waiting to get on number 13 to go to Con Ave. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yo, maybe I just dreamed that, maybe whatever. It's packed, okay? It's like 4:30, it's packed. And I see this little Asian lady. I'm over here, she over here, and I see her weaving her way through people. And in the back of my head, I'm like, yo, is this lady walking up to me? Lo and behold, she walks straight up to me with this little pamphlet in her hand, gives it to me and says, do you know where you're going when you die? And I opened it up and it was talking about Jesus. And then I turned and she disappeared. Bro, I'm freaking out. And I remember I got home, there was a basketball game I wanted to watch. I could not watch the game because I was like, it was one thing for me to hear about God growing up. Like I grew up in a Christian household. My dad was a pastor. Like I was like, cool. Like that's my dad's stuff. I'm doing my thing. It's one thing to hear about God. It's another thing when God speaks to you. And now I was in this position where I was like, I have just heard from God for myself. So now I need to make a decision, right? And so, it came to that point and I started reading the Bible, not just to like nitpick and be like, oh, let me use this for this here. I was like, let me just read it straight through. I got convicted and then I just started giving things one by one. First it was my girlfriend, then it was the weed, then it was the parties, and then it was the drugs. And then like bit by bit, I had to kind of give things away. And the last thing was the music, because I was like, let me tell you, my boy, I was like, this is mine, right? Like I have built this music. I've created the craft. Like I wanted the music to be mine. And I heard him say to me, though the music is yours, I gave you the brain, right? And so that was my big piece of conviction. Like, dang, like, I'm like, you got a point. So I gave it to him. And then about 6 months later is when I felt like he asked me to make music, glorifying him and just sharing my relationship with him and the things he was doing on my heart through music.
How did it feel when you were giving up those things, though? I'd be curious about that.
That was the hardest thing in my life. Hardest thing in my life, bro, especially when you are giving things up and then trying to explain to people that are your peers that are like, bro, I'm not even out of high school, right? Like I'm in the middle trying to figure out this double life. Like I feel like I'm hearing from God, but I want to do the things my boys is doing, right? And the hard part about it is eventually you have to create a boundary. Because if you don't make the boundary, it's chaos. And then you'll start doing things that you don't want to do, and then the real battle will be up here. And immediately you're saying like, I'm a fake, I'm a fraud, this isn't real. And I heard a lot of those things, right? Like, there's times it's like, yo, Bump, I'm trying to go to this party. Yo, Bump, I'm trying to go talk to this girl, right? And then I'd be there and they'd be like, yo, ain't you following God now? Ain't you doing this? And I'd be like, bro, you don't know my struggle, you know? Like, you don't, like, I'm trying. This is my moment where I just need to breathe. But I had to say within myself, like, I need to create boundaries. And that's the only way for me to grow.
Yeah, and I think especially realizing this during high school is a crazy time because that's the time where I feel like people are getting into the most shenanigans, dude.
Yeah, bro.
You know, so fighting those temptations, those urges to like, because I've always been somebody too who like, I'm not a party guy. You know what I mean? I'm inside all the time. Like, but I'm like a workaholic. That's like where I end up in this. But it's just like, you know, sometimes like not doing what everyone's doing can actually lead you to a better spot, you know, and kind of secure your future and realize where you want to be in life, especially at a young age too.
Yeah.
I need to know where the name comes from though, right? At this point, are you Zabbai at this point or you didn't become Zabbai yet?
So my old rap name was Young Infamous, right?
This was the 100 records you made that like your mom found the mixtape of.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And
you're like, Mom, that's not me. I'm not Young Infamous. That could never be me.
And you know what's so funny is my graduation, my boy, shout out to my boy Kyrie. He was like, yo, you should get your name for graduation like on your head. So I remember I did that, and then my dad was like, who's Infamous? I was like, you know, just a name they call me. And I felt like he was putting the pieces together, but he never said nothing to my mom. So shout out to my dad. He never put me on Front Street. Zabbai came from this place of I spent a lot of time in prayer, and I was like I didn't want to bring a name that was someone that I used to be into this new space. You look at in the Bible where we get the location of Israel, right, comes from Jacob, right? And it says that there was a moment. So Jacob's name meant deceiver, right? Like in the Bible, his name was deceiver. And everything that he did in his life up until that point, like he deceived. He deceived his brother, he deceived his dad, he deceived his uncle, right? And now he has 12 kids and they're going into this new place. And then there's this moment where he's wrestling with God, right? And basically, God says to him, it says an angel of the Lord, but it's God. And he says, what do you want, right? And Jacob says, I won't let go until you bless me. So it says that God blesses him, but he touched his hip. And essentially for the rest of his life, he walked with a limp. But ever since that moment, God said, you will no longer be named Jacob, your name will be Israel, right? And so I was having those moments internally, right, where I was wrestling with God. And it didn't feel like he was pressing upon me a new name, but there are many times where you see God giving new names. You have I think Peter in the Bible is given another name. I can't remember. But so Zabbai, funny enough, is a name in the book of Nehemiah, and he was one of the fathers. He was the father of Baruch, who was helping rebuild the walls of Jerusalem when they were coming out of captivity, right? So they were helping rebuild the walls and rebuilding the temple. And so the name means pure, flowing, and wanderer. And in that season of my life, I felt like I needed so much purity, right? The flowing part, I considered it like spitting, right? Like I want to flow, because I remember I told the Lord, I said, if we doing Christian music, it's not gonna be corny. We don't do corny. I don't care where we going with it. Like, we don't do corny, right? But then Wanderer, I really felt that, because in my space, I didn't know, there were no Christian artists in Connecticut that I knew of, right? I felt like I was on an island. I'm like, how do I navigate this space when there's no one that has gone before me, right? So I very felt like I really embodied all of those things, but then up until this point, going back to this guy in the Bible, I feel like that now, where my desire is to help people navigate what it's like to rebuild the walls within themselves, places that are broken, areas that they have overlooked. And I try to do that in my music by starting with me, of showing people where I've allowed God to rebuild the walls of my own heart.
No, that's really well said, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it always, warms my heart when I hear like the name has meaning, or like, you know, sometimes I'll hear people that be like, I don't know, I threw it in a rap generator. And that's how I got it. That's how Post Malone got his name. I was going to say, you know what I mean? But you know, it's nice to hear when it has like meaning. But what's like a struggle that you had to face, you know, during this journey?
Rejection, being corny. I remember I went to a show. What's that studio up in Norwalk?
Oh, in like the Sono area?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if they're there anymore, but I know what you're talking about. There was like a little green screen or like white screen in there too, like for shooting. It's like
maybe. It's like a
damn it, dude.
Oh my goodness.
I'm failing Connecticut trivia right now, dude.
My boy, what's his name? Vic. Then my boy Vic up in Norwalk. He's a producer up there. So they were having a show. They were having this event, and it was like an open mic night style, right? Bunch of heads, and I remember there was this girl there named I think her name was Forever, and she had beef with Remy Ma at the time. So a lot of people was in there. So I got on the card, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go up and do my thing, right? Man, let me tell you. So homeboy shouted out who I was, told me to come up. I'm telling you, there's like 70 to 80 heads in there. This is my first time doing a Christian rap in public. I think it was like a remix I did to a Lil Wayne beat or whatever.
The motto?
I think it was 6'7".
Yeah, I saw you did a couple of them. I was doing my research, that's why.
And so the beat comes on, right, and everyone's like, oh, okay. Bro, I start rapping, everyone just goes, no heads is moving, bro.
Damn.
In a crowd of like 80 people. And there was one head, right? So I was like, bro, the show must go on. I need to finish. So I finish. I get off. No one daps me up. No one says anything. But that one dude, bro, he looked over. He said, yo, mad respect. Keep going. Bro, I don't know if I would have had the fire I had it not been for that one dude, you know? And if I don't know if you ever hear sometimes some people say like, oh, like when you're making music, sometimes it just needs to hit one person, you know? See, some people like do comparisons, like they'll be like, oh, I only did 300 views on my TikTok, but then they show like a room of how much 300
people is,
you
yeah.
know? But to be in a room of literally close to 100 people and to see one head nodding, I was like, bet, I gotta do it for the one, you know? So it was a struggle, bro. It was a struggle starting because there was no roadmap for it over here. And as soon as someone would hear the concept, it's immediately corny. It's not like that now. It's such a different landscape. But bro, starting out, it was corny for everybody.
I feel that though. I think over time people have become more supportive and loving, dude. But I don't feel like it was always like that, dude. I feel like, and I don't know why this was, but like at a certain point, it like wasn't cool to support. You know what I mean? It's like we're all just gonna stay in the trenches together. You know what I mean? It's like I can't support you. You're staying in tight with me, dude. Yeah. But so on the flip side, what was like one of your first moments of success?
You got some good questions today, bro.
I told you after I go to the gym, I feel way sharper than like before.
My first moment of success had to be, I got reached out to by this church up in not in the sticks. Not Enfield, Connecticut. I want to say Enfield.
That's still up there though.
Still up there. I got reached out, so they like emailed me like, yo, we want you to come perform. And I was like, oh shoot, like this is a real email. This isn't spam. So dude, I pull up. It was like 70 people. Bro, and I got a row of kids ready to buy CDs and want me to sign their shirts. And I was like, yo, so like how long y'all want me to perform? They were like, can you do like 20 minutes? I was like, 20 minutes? I was ready to do a song or two. I'm like, y'all want to listen to me for 20 minutes? Dude, and like those moments like built up my capacity to keep going, you know, believing that there was someone that was actually interested in what I wanted to say. But I always say like sometimes it does take, like being in the trench, like builds things in you that cannot be built if everyone agrees with everything you do in the beginning, you know? Like there's a little bit of sandpaper that you need.
The grit, dude.
To build that durability, man. And I will never, if I had to start over, I would have it be the same exact way, because I wouldn't have this dog mentality in me if I didn't go through the things I went through.
No, I agree too. Like, you saying that hits home with me because it also just gives you a perspective, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because if you've been through those dark times,
Right.
It's like, all right, we're good now. You know what I mean? We're not there. Like, nothing as bad as there.
Right.
But would you be willing to share like some of those things that you went through that like, might have changed your perspective?
Give me an example.
Something like a tough time, that you went through, maybe a low moment and how you bounced back from it.
So, funny enough, my first year, like, doing music and like following Jesus and trying to figure out what that looked like, was cool. Funny enough, I wanted to go to Full Sail University.
Florida.
Right?
Yeah.
And my dad didn't like the idea of me being so far away from home, but also there was a little bit of conflict because I wanted to go there, but it wasn't something I was praying about, right? So that was like a 6-month time period of my first time like hearing from God, and I was like, man, I'm just trying to go down there. I'm trying to learn everything. I'm trying to connect. But I was like, dang, God, is that where you want me to go? I'm not sure. So I went to NCC, and I did a full year there, and I did my summer course, and a week after I completed my summer course, I got hit by a car.
Oh no, dude.
And I remember that being a very pivotal moment in my life because, so I broke my leg. I got hit going about 35 miles an hour, flew about 30 feet. And a lot of people thought I started following Jesus because of that accident. But I was following a whole year before. And the crazy part is I got sent into intensive care on my 4th day there, and I found out that someone 2 doors down had gotten hit by a car on a bike, and they were immediately in a coma, right? So now I'm also having these moments like in the hospital, like, okay, I got hit walking, and I'm fine. They got hit on a bike, and they're in a coma, right? And so during that time, this is 2011, NCC didn't have accommodating chairs. So I couldn't enroll for that semester because I couldn't fit in the chair. So I spent that next 6 months at home. Funny enough, is when I got into One Piece. So shout out for that time because I'd never gotten a One Piece. Huge One Piece fan. But that 6 months was such a reflective time where I felt it was a space of God calling me to sit still, right? It was finally time where I could like go in His Word, figure out how to pray, figure out like, okay, like what is my roadmap? What do I want to do? And I feel like that time was a huge foundational piece of discovering who I was, so that when it was time for God to catapult me, the way my mentor says it is to picture yourself like an arrow in the bow of God, right? And that when He holds you and He pulls you, like when you pull an arrow, there's more tension, right? And what He said to me is, get comfortable in the tension, because the tension is the place that God wants to keep you reminded of when you're flying, right? And so those moments, I'll never forget them, because wherever God catapults me from now, like life always gets busy and busier, right? I don't have kids yet. I know when I have kids, it's gonna get busier. If I start going crazy on tour, it gets busier, right? But when I'm in the swing of things and in the motion, if I don't have those healthy habits to begin with, right, I won't know what to rely back on when things get crazy. So that was probably the toughest time of my life, not being able to walk for 6 months.
Were you able to keep your mental in a good spot during that time? Like, I'm sure it was a battle.
Yeah. A lot of quiet time, a lot of reflection, a lot of craziness, like with friends coming to check up on me, seeing what I was doing. Yeah. Very introspective time.
So what's the feeling once you're, back moving again and feeling better?
At that time, it was really trying to figure out, was school the route for me, right? That was my big thing, was like, okay, like, am I gonna figure out what a major is and all of those things? School never really worked out for me, but kind of bringing things full circle, the last class that I did was accounting, and I was trying to figure out. There's a book that I love. The author's name is Jim Quick. His book is called Limitless, and he talks about navigating limiting beliefs, right? So his book is about learning how to learn. When he was in the kindergarten, he was standing on a radiator, had a brain injury, and then when he got into college, he had to make up for what he didn't know because he had to study so much, and then he fell down a flight of stairs, so he had a second brain injury. So his whole book is about how he learned how to learn. And there is a chapter where he talks about navigating your limiting beliefs because they are holding you back from certain things today that either was something that someone said, could have been the third, fourth grade, could have been something your parents have said. And one of my limiting beliefs was I didn't believe that I was good with numbers. I didn't believe I was good with finance. And as funny as that is, dude, as I began, I read this book in 2019, 2020. During that time was when I started a business with my boys, and they asked me what I thought about taking over the finances. And I was like, oh, this is funny. So at the same time I'm reading this book and I'm thinking about the limiting beliefs I've had about myself about finance, my boys are asking me to take over finance.
It's a good opportunity to get in.
Dude. And now, like I'm so confident with numbers. I'm so confident with numbers, man. So, I'm trying to remember the question that you asked me.
No, I was asking you, I want to take it somewhere because one thing that just inspired me is like, people do limit themselves. You know what I mean? And it's like, people are way more capable of than they think, but sometimes your mind plays game. It's like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't. But it's like, you can. You just got to do it. Like, as stupid as that sounds, you know what I mean? It's just like, I think even like of opportunities that I might have missed at a younger age because I was like, no, I can't do that. You know what I mean? But really, if I had just done it, it would have been, and I probably would have been in a better spot for it. So, if anyone's like listening, it's just like, get outside of your mind sometimes. Don't overthink things. Just try the thing, because it's like, when we're talking about like your finance situation, I'm sure you got in there and then all of a sudden it's like, this thing that I was afraid to do, I'm good at, So that's a thought.
I think to your point also, is also navigating people that know you a little too well. The funny thing is, the very same story with Jesus, when he went to his hometown, they didn't believe he was God because they were like, yo, isn't this Mary's son? Like, isn't this Joseph's kid? And it literally says that Jesus could do little to no miracles because they didn't believe. And it was because they were so familiar with him. And one of those things is, when it comes to limiting beliefs, is just paying attention to what others that are close to you believe about you just because of proximity. And some of their beliefs, like, I'll use a perfect one, right? Perfect one is, I am widely known for being late, right? And something that my mentor taught me was being on time is a format of honoring people, right? And so at first I'm like, oh, like being late, like I'm late, like it's whatever, But then I'm like, dang, like if being on time is a way to honor people, like I need to show up for others opposed to just saying like, oh, I'll just take an extra 10 minutes and relax, right? So now I'm striving to be on time, but whenever I am late, the people that are close to me, oh, well, Brad's just late. Brad's just always late, right? And so in that moment, I have to fight the chorus of what people see me as, not what they see me becoming, right? And so those are one of the things to like just be mindful of. And if those people are open to let them know, like, hey, I'm looking to get better in this area, I would appreciate it if you would speak life over what I'm trying to do, not what I already do.
What you're saying applies so much, even especially like being an artist, dude. It's like, I'm sure when you first became an artist, people are like, nah, dude, that's not you, dude.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, you're the dude that's playing basketball with us. You're the dude that's like getting into shenanigans with us. That's not you, dude.
That's a fact.
People, it's just hard for people to see you in a different light, especially if they come from the same place as you. It's like hard to see you. But it's like, I think people should be encouraged to like push and try new things and really try to figure out themselves, you know? And I feel like I'm still on that journey, dude, where it's like, I entered the game as a video director, right? And then I started producing music. And like, you know, when I started producing music, people are like, yo, this is the video director, dog. Like, why is the video guy making beats, dude?
Right, bro?
Yeah, so then I started cooking up beats. And, you know, I guess even with my podcast, it's like, damn, well, why the hell does Mike have a podcast? He's a producer, you know what I mean? Right. But like, my next journey is I'm going full artist, dude. Like, yeah, a lot of people don't know this. I'm going full artist.
That's fire.
And I think people, because I have the track record of just doing shenanigans in the music field, people will be like more accepting of it. But I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, dog, you mean the podcaster? You mean the fucking 50 States producer guy? Like, hell nah, dude. But
that's a fact.
What do you think a moment where you got out of your comfort zone was that you were just like trying something new that ended up being a big success for you?
Okay. So I talk about my mentor a lot. This was about a year before I got married, like 2015. I remember, so I remember we were somewhere, we were shooting a music video for my boy Stag Zion. And we had someone that came in that needed to sing something. Trying to put the pieces together. But I remember coming in the room and then someone pointed at me like, oh, like, are you the singer? I was like, oh, no, that's him. Like, he's a singer. And he then pointed back like, oh, nah, like Zab can blow. Like, Zab can blow. And I remember like looking, like, I know he can sing. And I was like, what is making him say that I could blow? I'm like, yeah, maybe it's just a bad joke. Maybe he gassing. And then about 6 months later, I was with my boy Stack again. We went to go do a show in Philly. And there's a song that I have called Purpose. And at the end of the song, there's normally like some singing. Whenever you're in the studio and you're singing and you feel like you don't have a great voice, it's much different than when you're out on stage. So I remember I'm at the end of the song and I'm like doing like little minor little riffs, like let me let the background tracks do their thing. And I remember my boy Stack, he was in the audience. He was like, nah, bro, sing that song, bro. Sing that song. And I was like, dang. So fast forward now, it's 2016. I'm working on my album. And I'm like, bet. Like, I got my songs ready. I need a singer here, singer here, singer here, singer here. So I'm reaching out to all my singer connects. And they're all like, oh, well, like, let me hear you do it. So I do it, and they're like, well, why don't you just do it? And I was like, because I'm not a singer, right? But that was one of the things that, like, you know, built up over time of believing I could actually sing. And it really changed the confidence level of when I would go into the studio. And then it ultimately changed the structure of songs that I make, where they're not just rap songs, but now it's also just changing into different kinds of genres. So like, I'm working on some jazz stuff. I'm working on some eclectic, Prince style stuff. Like there's so many different styles of music that I'm making, and I'm not thinking of myself as a, you know, to your point, like, I don't care if people say, oh, I only want rappers Ab. Because I'm breaking out of my own mold of doing things differently because I believe that I can sing. So that was a huge moment for me to start transcending into different styles of music. And I also believe what it does is it helps me now to connect with vast different fans that appreciate different genres.
Yeah, I'd be curious too where you stand on the numbers and stuff too, because for example, I know you broke 1 million streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like?
That was a huge feeling, bro. Huge feeling of, at the end of the day, regardless of what people say or don't say about numbers, everyone enjoys feeling appreciated and feeling like their work has been seen and in some category deemed as good work, you know? Everything that I do, there's in Exodus 32, God is giving Moses these commands on how to build the first tabernacle and all of these measurements and requirements, what they're supposed to do. And he says that there were two men. I just read it recently, so don't think I just be knowing this off the top of my head. I think his name was Bezalel and Olahib. And it said that God had given them supernatural wisdom to be the builders. But then what it also said was that they were already excellent in the things that they were doing. They were already excellent craftsmen, right? So God was essentially just kind of sprinkling on top more wisdom to carry out what he called them to do. And I view that a lot, where I say like I know that I can pray over something and God can bless it, but then I look and say like, what is the work that I'm doing before I get to that point? Because I don't want him to just like bless crappy work, because if it's crappy work and I show it to y'all and y'all are like, this is okay. And I'm like, oh, but I prayed over it. That don't matter. Like, did I put in the excellent work to make sure it was good before I got it to that next step? So yeah, those moments, like, it feels good, to be like, yeah, I put in work and people have appreciated it and it's made an impact on their life.
Yeah, another moment I want to talk to you about is the Shibuya roll call. I had to bring it up, dude.
Oh my gosh, bro. That was so freaking funny. I tell you, man, I try to do stuff at least where I'm going to enjoy myself, So I saw people doing the trend, right? And bro, like, I was dying. I was like, yo, these are so freaking funny. I was like, I could do this. So I remember I like made a couple of lines. I'm like, I have a terrible habit of writing lyrics as I'm driving. But I'm making these lyrics. I'm like, bet. I'm like, you know what? When I get home, I'm gonna set up my lights, set the camera. I'm gonna just do it, right? So I set it up. And right before I hit record, my wife comes in. She's like, what the heck are you doing? I'm like, yo, this is trend. This is a little silly thing. I'm like, whatever. So I did it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to post it tomorrow. So I posted it the next day. And I do real estate photography. So I meet my agent. I dap him up and I go inside. And I started doing the pictures. So I get like a little buzz in my pocket. I'm like, oh, someone like my video. I'm like, cool. Shoot, buzz. I'm like, oh, people are liking this. Dude, for the next 48 hours. That's the one thing about going viral. You will mute your notifications. Oh my gosh, bro. Video went crazy. And then I was like, oh, cool, I got to do a part 2. And I was like, I got to do a part 3. I think I ended up doing like 5 parts. But it was very unexpected, the feedback. But those are one of those things where you don't know is what on the other side of stepping out of your comfort zone and just being creative. Because when I look back, like, of doing those skits, I was like, some of it is minorly cringy, but it's only, like, for me, I'm thinking of it cringy because I know what I'm doing and what I'm about to do. But for other people, it's just super enjoyable. So it's like, for the one person that says it's cringy versus the 100 people that say it's great, like, bump that one person. Because if that one person shouted in a room, they would be completely washed out by 100 other people.
Yeah, dude. I don't think, and you're talking to somebody who's currently wearing an American flag suit, dog. But like, to me, like, fuck people that say things are cringy, dog, because I'm out here trying to change my life right now. Bro. You know what I mean? And like, that video, definitely had people that are probably fans of yours now that listen to all your stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, people are like, oh, it's cringe, oh, it's whatever. I'm like, shut up, dude. You know what I mean? Because, like, the only, like, if that cringe thing is the thing that's between you and getting closer to your goal, it's like, do the thing. Who cares? You know what I mean? We got one life. Like, no one's going to think about it in a week. Exactly, you know what I mean? Bro. So it's like, but, what are some moments? Because, I know you've grown a platform on TikTok. Yeah. What are some of the benefits? And I know TikTok has a good conversion with people, finding you on TikTok and then going to stream you on Spotify.
Right.
So
I would say the big thing with it's learning how to be relatable and consistent. And the second part, which is funny enough, man, is I've had to learn how to give people what I know they want to hear, but also stay true to myself and making sure that I'm being obedient to what God is calling me to do. So there was this moment where I was on like the 5th roll call, right? And I was like, I had like 4 more lined up, right? But I was like, is this in particular thing what I want to be known for? And there's that moment of, I know if I do 5 more of these, it's gonna blow. But is that what I want to blow for, right? So I had to get to this point where I said, ultimately, I'm going to create great content, period. And ultimately, my belief is that people will follow me regardless, right? And that has really been my experience, is that like when I make sure that I put out good content that I believe in, but I remain my true self, like people are going to engage on my stuff. And those are the people that like you want to build, for lack of better phrasing, you want to build super fans. You don't want to build just a general audience fan, because general audience fans will be with you today and leave you tomorrow, right? But like super fans that like appreciate the real you, they want to rock with you because they feel like they can champion you, right? They want to be able to say like, this person has stuck to who he is. Even if they try new things, like they're willing to stick with you through the new things.
If you have 10,000 people that'll put $100 into you a year, that's $1 million before taxes.
Talk, bro. Talk.
You know what I mean? Back to numbers, dude. Those are some, and 10,000 is not that crazy of a number. Right. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's the thing too, where it's like artists might not know like what their goal is, but it's like, really, if you make this community of 10,000 people that really support you, and you don't even need that much. That's for $1 million, dog. Yeah, 1,000 people. It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, really is perspective, but yeah, I think you're on the right path of like, that is the right goal. Yeah. And you know, another thing I find interesting too, because I relate to this sentiment, because one of my biggest opportunities I turned down, and it kind of reminds me of what you're saying of like, keep going with the, like, do I want to be known as this?
Yeah.
I infamously turned down a job from Jelly Roll. And the country superstar, yes. You know, and, but it just like, you know, I had a moment where it's like the job that he offered me, he wanted me to come live with him 24/7, 365. You know what I mean? So I'm already giving up everything at that point. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a relationship, my family's here. You know what I mean? I already got all the other stuff I built, right? So that was a reason too, but it's like, I had a moment where it's like, I don't know if I want to be someone's video guy. And it's not even just Jelly Roll, it's just anybody. Like, you know what I mean? I like, and you know, I turned it down because it's kind of like a similar moment where it's like, I don't want to be known as this guy. I'd rather be Mike Squires jumping around in his fucking American flag suit and taking a quality job from Jelly Roll, dude.
Yeah,
but sometimes you just got to follow your heart, dude. You know?
Respect that, man.
Yeah. But it just, when you were saying that, that's what I thought of too, where it's like, because sometimes people will think you're crazy. They'll be like, yo, why are you not taking this opportunity? It's catching flames right now. Like, the videos are going crazy. Why don't you just keep hammering that nail? And it's like, at the end of the day, you know your mission, you know where you line up. And if you knew at that moment that I don't want to be this guy, you know, and so sometimes it's a hard call to make too, you know, so.
That's true, man. Perception, I think it's very good to be able to look at both, right? To really weigh out an opportunity and then say, what kind of person will I look like at the end of that opportunity? You know, dude, for all you know, right? You could have taken that job and have been an amazing job, right? Huge exposure, but you don't know what burnout would look like in a 3-year contract under those terms. You could be out of that 3 years and you could say to yourself, like, after this, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. And you could finish and be like, I never wanna touch a camera again. You know, all because it wasn't on the timeline of you being able to have the control of the experience.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen to other people too, where it's like, you know, you hear them and they lose the love for it. You know, they lose the love for the video, the art, the music, and then they just go work a regular. And it's sad, dude, because it's like, dang, you were talented, dude. What happened there? You know, so
that's so true, man.
Burnout's a scary thing.
They say, what do they say? It's a basketball statistic, but it's also like in everyday life. They say like, from what we know of, the best basketball player is Michael Jordan. The ones that we don't know just never, like so many different scenarios, right? Like there could have been players that were much better than Michael and their mom needed them to work extra hours, you know? They probably had siblings that needed to rely upon them. They chose the wrong girlfriend. So we would never know who the greatest is.
Because they're not applying themselves in that field.
Right. So we just know the greatest circumstantially what happened.
Yeah.
So
which stresses me out when I think about it too, because think of how many talented artists there are. Like, I've always, and maybe I'll do this project in the future, but I've always wanted to like just find random people like working random jobs. Like maybe like my dream really was like to go to Alaska and find like an oil driller or somebody who like you would, and just be like, yo, let's cook up a song.
Yeah.
And like him just have like this beautiful, or her, I guess, you know what I mean? I don't know where females stand in oil drilling. I feel like it's mostly a man-based thing, but I also don't want to discriminate against my female oil drillers. Right. But yeah, find somebody in like who just is nowhere in the field of music, make a song and just see that shit change their life, dude. That would be really tight.
That's a fire idea, dude.
I want to do it. It'll happen. I just need to get rid of this 50 States project.
And I think the best thing for that too is like you'll find it. I mean, TikTok is a great platform because there are people that'll just like do like there'll be a trendy song and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to sing the trendy song." They'll be like, "You have an amazing voice," right? So yeah, we'll talk about that after.
It would be sick. I mean, I'm putting it out there so someone might do it before him, but it's like, you know, doing a song with a trash man, doing a song like, you know what I mean? Like all these different fields that you wouldn't expect to like, but then they make a fire song and then all of a sudden it's like, yo, this is the craziest thing that could have happened.
You should do it like, the best part, here's the best part. Oh my goodness. I remember during COVID, what was the number one app everyone was using? Where like you could jump in and like listen to the voices and talk.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Fuck, dude. Group, no, chat. It's.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Fuck, dude, this is killing. And there was like a group of them. Like it'd be mad people.
Yeah, mad people.
Oh, there's this dude who always hits me to go in it. Even to this day, it's still like a thing.
It's still a thing. So I remember I was in one of these groups and there was like a VP of some music exec company. He was giving out sauce. Like he was giving out gems. There's like 200, 300 people in the group. And I remember there was someone like on top, on like in the like of the speakers that was like, "Oh, yo, you giving away too much sauce." And this girl chimed in and she said, it doesn't matter because statistically, 90% of people won't actually use the information even when it's free.
Oh, 100%, dude.
So like with ideas, like there will be great ideas and people, we see it all the time. We see products all the time. Like, I could have made that. Oh, that's a great idea. It's like, you could have made it, but you saw it and then said someone else is going to do it.
Yeah, no. You know, it's funny. I feel the same way though, where it's like, because I talked about my 50 States project for a year before I even started it. My mom and people around me were like, "Aren't you afraid someone's going to take the idea?" And I said, "Absolutely not. No one's psycho enough to like, do you know how much life you have to dedicate to do this project? Like, this is like not a part-time thing. Like, they'd have to like legitimately dedicate a part of their life to this thing." So I was just like, with that particular idea, the 50 States project, I wasn't tripping at all. I was like, no one's doing this psychopath play, dude.
I got your next project, bro. We'll talk about
I'm excited, dude. But you know what? That brings me to a good subject where, like, we briefly talked about goals before this, right? What are some of the goals that you have?
So my goals, in particular for this year, one of the things that I really wanted to tackle was, I heard someone say it really well. They basically said, if you as an artist that deem yourself, so like I have almost 12,000 followers on Spotify, total, I think like with all of my platforms, maybe 140,000 total, right? Of course it would be a dream of mine to work like some of my favorite artists, millions of fans, millions of followers. I'd love to get a feature with them, right? I'd love to open for them. And someone put it into perspective, how well do you share your platform and view yourself as that top artist? Why would you give an artist of your caliber the same exposure? Right? And I began to think about that for myself. Like, I look at my numbers, I'm like, oh, my numbers aren't crazy. But someone that's just starting to look at my numbers saying that's crazy, right? And so I've challenged myself to say, how can I share my platform in the same way that I would desire someone at the top to share their platform? So I'm really looking to do a lot more collaborations this year and really looking to share my platform. So the same as you, man, like there are some people that are like freaking gems, dude. Like they make the most insane stuff and their following is just like slim to none. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm going to work with them.
Sometimes it doesn't translate, dude. And like,
It doesn't,
talented
man.
people are just talented people. And like, because there's so many factors that go into it. Like, having good music is really like a third of the battle. Yeah, it's
It
like
really
it's all
is,
the other
dude.
stuff, dude.
It really
like,
is.
Like, having good music is like expected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if you are putting out good music, but not doing all the content, all the, you know, the Spotify playlists, you know, fucking pitching ahead of time, the
stories,
everything,
email blasts.
dude. Yeah, just
Yeah.
everything. There's so much that goes into it. Like even just being out in public, you know what I mean? Just showing face at events. Like a lot of the stuff makes a difference. So it's like you really just got to be in the full ecosystem.
That's true.
You know, to really see an impact of like the full picture.
Yeah.
You know, but to your point, it's like I've worked with a ton of artists that like don't have huge platforms, but it's like, dog, you are so talented, dude. It almost gets you upset. You're like, dude, like what the hell is going on here? This doesn't make sense. But you know, and sometimes there's like a little bit of like luck factored in too. It's like you can put and that's the fucked up thing about music, dude.
Yeah.
Is that you can put yourself in the best position possible. Like do everything quote unquote right.
Right.
And still might not hit.
Right.
You know, it's just part of the game, dude. It's a tough game.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. What keeps you motivated though in music? Because it is a tough game.
A couple. It was like a 5, 6, 7 part answer. I would say that's a great question. One of the motivators is being able to do something at an excellent level and at a high tier level and not having to relocate. My wife talks to me all the time about moving to Atlanta and moving to different places. I got friends in LA, Pomona, Florida, like all over the place, Tennessee, right? Where specifically speaking, like the Christian music scene is bananas, right? And I have this thing, man, about I want to show people that God can use you where you are, you know? There could be someone that is amazingly talented in the sticks of Wyoming and would potentially think, I need to relocate to be seen and heard, which in some cases might be true, right? But I have a huge, like, edge about, like, no, I'm going to stay 10 toes in Connecticut, and God is going to use me here and blow this scene up without having to travel and show people that you don't have to leave where you are or change who you are to see success. So those are one of the things that keep me driving. The second really being, there's just not a lot of artists. There are much more artists in the last 3 years that I've met than in the last 14 years that I've been doing Christian rap.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging to see, but that's what drives me, man. Like, also just knowing that people have been extremely blessed by my music, man. People that have stopped thoughts of suicide and leaving their families and being free from addictions, like just from the music that I've made and just from sharing from my own life experiences. It really drives me, man, and just makes me feel like I'm not just rapping, putting it into a microphone and putting it on Spotify. Like someone's going to listen to this and it's going to change their whole perspective on how they go about their life and their goals. So it's one of the things that really keep me going, man.
What do those moments look like? You know, are they reaching out via DMs? Are they meeting you in person? Like, you know,
all over, man. I have people. I did a show in Stamford at the UConn Center over here. It's like 2017, 2018, and just recently, like a couple weeks ago, on my church, I'm tapping in with this new kid, and I'm like, "Yo, let me get your number, da da da." And he like looked at me. He was like, "You're Zabbai?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yo, I met you in 2017, and I got put onto your stuff, and I was listening. I was like, yo, this dude live here?" And he's like freaking out, right? He hasn't seen me since 2017, but he's having this whole moment. So I've had a lot of those, man, like where like people like see me on the street or send me DMs, send me private messages, leave comments. And I also just try to be very personable, right? So when I see people, it's not like, don't treat me like no celebrity, because I'm here struggling and trying to figure things out just like you. And like the greatest thing that I believe I can do is show people that I'm human, I struggle, I have flaws, and I'm just sharing my side of the story of what I'm allowing God to do in my heart and showing you that it's possible for you too. You know, so
Words are powerful, dude. And it's like, you never know how people are going to react when you put your message, your story out there too. And, you know, that's something that it's not always being like easy being vulnerable in your music too. Is that something that you ever struggled with, or like?
Definitely at first, you know, your immediate thoughts when you put out vulnerable songs is, oh, what is my community going to think? What are my friends going to think, right? I've heard it best said that like your immediate community is not your audience.
That's the truth, dude.
Because like your audience is out there, and it shouldn't have to be that way, but when
It's just how it is.
this is
dude.
how it is, man. And so that has definitely helped me jump over hurdles to be vulnerable. And ultimately what I've seen is the more vulnerable I have been, the more vulnerable I see people become, right? And of course there's wisdom and there's knowledge on like, okay, like if there's a story I want to share, how am I going to share the story? How do I protect? So there's a story that I shared called Godsidence, of a story I have with one of my friends where she OD'd, and but there was this time I was sharing the gospel, and that's a real story, right? But in that making of that story, I said, okay, like I want to make sure I'm protecting identities here. I want to make sure I'm not saying things out of pocket just because, like, oh, I can easily say, oh, it's my song, my story, but I'm like, I also want to be sensitive on who's going to hear these things. So I think about a lot of those things when it comes to how vulnerable I get. But the ultimate goal is that I'm vulnerable to a point where people can hear the songs and then go back to their own inner circles and then get vulnerable.
Apply
with people
their
they
own
trust.
story. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. And it also like, you know, maintains your privacy as well. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you don't feel like you have to like expose somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? I'd be curious what some of the best advice you've ever gotten is.
Man, I've been giving so much advice. I should write a book. And some of that is really just like having good advice, but then like applying the good advice. Man.
Yeah, applying the advice is everything, dude. You know, I'm sure everyone's been given great advice, but do they actually apply it?
Apply it.
Yeah.
You're gonna laugh, man. Best piece of advice I ever got not in my life, but that I'll never forget. And it's so freaking simple. 7th grade, bro. My homeroom teacher of Ripplewan Middle School. My boys, this was like East Side, West Side beef nonsense that was going on. And I remember there were more and more fighting incidents where I was in the middle, right? I'd be on the East Side at my boy's crib, and they'd be like, yo, like he from the West, but he cool. And then I'm on the West, and they fighting, and I'm like, do I jump in? Like my boys fighting, right? And I remember something happened at my school. There was like 3-on-3 fighting. I was just there, but I got in trouble. But I was just there. I remember what my teacher said, Brad, birds of a feather flock together. And I remember I said, Miss, I didn't do anything. I was just there. And she looked at me and she said, birds of a feather flock together. I will never forget that, bro. I'll never forget it. Because from that moment on, it helped me be more aware of my surroundings and just pay attention to places that I was at, certain scenarios. It helped me navigate like, okay, I'm out right now. It's 11. Do I really need to be out until 1 o'clock? Right? And then like I'd be out somewhere. I'd be like, yeah, I need to leave. An hour later, someone got shot. Right? Like all of these things.
Dude.
And so that was probably, I've gotten a lot of good advice in my life. But like, that is a piece of advice I'll never forget in my life. And it makes me be aware of who was in my circle. Are they building me up? Am I the only one doing the building up? It really helps me navigate, like, am I growing in every season? And do I have people around me that are helping grow me? Or do I have a bunch of yes people, right? And so I feel like I have cultivated a very healthy community around me that, bro, number one, let me tell you about my community. They don't give a crap that I make music. They do not, like they love that I make music, but they will call me out in an instant And it's the community I prayed for.
You need people like that.
I need people, bro. Like, it's to a point now where I say it now, like, my identity is not tied to my outcomes. So if I put out a song that I believe is great and people hear it and say it's trash, I'm not taking that and saying I'm trash. I'm like, they're saying the song is trash, right? So I've learned how to separate myself from the work that I'm doing. Sure, I can take it and say, maybe there are things that I did, maybe I rushed certain processes and I can get better. But if they're saying the song is trash, they're not saying I am trash. And even if they're saying I am trash, that's Zabbai they're saying that's trash. That's not Brad that they're saying. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And the thing is also like you being receptive to like, you know, people's criticism. Because sometimes, you know, when you put your heart and soul into a song, that's the last thing you want to hear. It'd be like, yo, check out this nice song I made. And then, it's like, this ain't the one. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, dude. Like, so it's tricky, like being an artist, you know? And, you know, kind of what you were saying too, like you said, birds of a feather flock together. So there was a quote that, or not quote, but I always used to tell my sister, like growing up, because she'd get into shenanigans and stuff. And I would just be like, you are the sum of the people you hang around. You know what I mean? And she, you know, as she was growing up, she's like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear it. But I think as she got older, she's like, yo, like, you know, she's hanging around a bunch of bums. She's more likely to become a bum. But it's like, you know, if you put yourself with like people that really want to get to that next level and also hold you accountable, like you're saying, it's like, those are the best people because you don't want yes men around you either. That's just like, it's not healthy. So
you'll get terrible advice.
Yeah, dude. I'm probably going to start pulling this to the, well, you know, I'm curious. Typically, I would pull this to the end zone around the hour mark, but, you know, I'm really enjoying talking to you, and I still have a couple more questions, dude. So,
bro.
You know, as a kid, like, did you get into, like, a lot of trouble?
As a kid?
Because it seems like, from what I'm hearing, it's like you were around it, but maybe not, like, partaking all the way.
Yeah, I was around it and I never engaged fully with things, you know. A couple of things that like my parents instilled in me, like one of them was, well, I'm Caribbean, so don't let the street lights catch you, right? That was a huge one. And it sucked, especially during, you know, like wintertime where the lights come on a lot faster because it's 5 o'clock and it's dark outside. And I'm like, yo, Ma, like, it's like, I know it's dark, but, you know, it's still 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
you know?
I just got home from school.
But their philosophy on it was because of you know, where we lived and certain people there, it's better to not be out at dark because that's when mischief happens. And so, of course, as I got older, it was like, okay, like I have to be inside. And then it's, okay, like I'm at a street light where you can see me. And then it's like, oh, like I'll be outside, Ma, like, you know, my friends, right? But I would say my parents, if anything, like gave me the gift of discernment, you know, to be able to just observe my surroundings, observe certain things, not engage with certain stuff, you know, like if there's, for example, right, if there's a commotion happening down the street and you see a bunch of guys there, they're like, yo, let's go see what's going on. I'm like, there's nothing over there for me to see what's going on. You know, like things like that are what helped me stay out of trouble. But as a kid, I didn't get in a lot of trouble, but I was around a lot of trouble. Yeah.
No, that's good though, dude. I was just curious too, because like because when I hear you talk, I don't get the vibe of troublemaker at all. You know what I mean? And like even, not even like back then, like I don't see a world where you were a troublemaker, dude. You know, that's why I like, because of the way I hear you talk. But I feel like the most like shenanigans, like what was some of the music about when you were infamous, dude?
Yeah, I mean, it was my surroundings. You know, I talked about whatever anyone else talked about. My favorite rapper was Cassidy, so, you know, stupid gun lines and all of that kind of jargon, but I wasn't really living it, you know, but it was like my boys like to hear it, right? And it, in essence, right, it also was this thing of like creating this persona, right? Because I think ultimately I was always like a kind-hearted person, but I wasn't the type where I was gonna let someone just get over on me for no reason. So I was able to stand up for myself if I needed to.
It's a really healthy balance though, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, even when I was a kid, like peer pressure is a real thing, you know what I mean? So not giving into that and like being able to hold your own and just be like, nah, this is who I am, not doing it. You guys can do what you want over here. But, you know, it's a very commendable quality about you is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I think it takes, I remember my boy, shout out my boy Scoop, when I was transitioning, and I was telling people I wasn't rapping, he like pulled up on me. He was like, yo, like you were supposed to be the one, bro. You were supposed to make it out. You were supposed to da-da-da. And I remember I was like, you know what, God, maybe I'll hold off on the music thing. And I went back. To like doing stuff for myself for like 6 months. And then I got convicted again of just being in this moment of like there's no one on this planet that can save me. And so because I know that, I can't live for people's expectations. But like, you know, just having those moments of like, all right, like ultimately I'm going to let people down. And at the end of the day, when I go home, am I going to have peace with the person I truly wanted to portray? Or am I going to portray a persona that people enjoy? Right? And that's like, you know who I think of like that, man? It's so funny. I didn't watch it, but the NFL pregame with all the celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
Bro, I thought of Drewski, man. And like, sure, he be like wilding out and he's funny. But I was like, I wonder what he's like in private. And do people expect him to be funny all the time? You know? And I thought about that, like because of the style of person that he is, like, does he have to turn it on and off? So like Kai Cenat, you don't get Kai Cenat. Like when I see him, I'm like, that's him, bro. When I see, and this is not no shot at Drewski, so no shot at you, Drew, but it makes me think like when you carry yourself a certain way, like
you have to be that thing all the time.
All the time, and it's draining. And so for me, I'm like, if I'm going to be this person that says I love God and I'm gonna make music and it's not corny, and I don't talk about God all the time, right? But if I see things that are relatable, I'll talk about it. I'm like, that's the person that I could sleep at night and be like, yo, I was my authentic self today.
It's interesting that you bring that up too. I had an experience literally yesterday that was like that, where, you know, when people see me online, very high energy, even like, you know, I pretty much feel I'm consistent across the board. Yeah. But yesterday I was at the gym and I was working out and I was so tired. This dude comes up to me and he's like, I know you from Instagram. And I talked to him, and then after the conversation, I was like, yo, did I just let that guy down? I was like, yo, I was mad tired. I was like, yo, this workout was crazy, dog. Like, and he just like, he said, why are you talking to me? Like, I was like, I don't even know what he wanted me to talk to him about. Right. But I don't know. I was like, did I just like let this guy down? Like, did he expected
to see Instagram you?
Yeah, I was like, you know, fucking do like a little dance. You know, I was like, what do you want me to do here, dude?
He's like, I got my suit in my bag.
Like, right? Yeah, I'm sweating. I'm like practically like, I sweat so much that my sweat goes into my eyes and my contacts are just, so I'm like looking like this. I probably look mad gross. I was like, dude, like any other time would have been good. But I don't know. But it's to your point. It's like, you know, especially when you're an artist, like people perceive you as this one way. And, you know, that's why I'm very thankful for the podcast, though, because it's like, if anyone has any question of who I am as a person, there are hours and hours and hours of footage of me talking that, like, because I don't think you can do a podcast and just like fake the funk for, you know what I mean? It's like eventually,
if you do, it's exhausting.
That's what I'm saying. You start to look crazy. But, you know, I'm going to pull this to the end zone. What's your message to the world, dude?
My message to the world is there is more in you than you think is possible. Of course, there is a God that loves you, that cares for you, that provides for you, and wants to take care of the little things that other people overlook. What I always say is the smallest things can have the biggest impacts. And I know that to be true because if you stub your pinky toe, your whole body will feel it. And that's why I always say the little things matter to God. And so, man, my message to the world is there's a God that loves you, that cares for you, and there are gifts that he's placed on the inside of you that are completely separate from your identity, from being a child of God, that is just love for being a child of God.
I love that, dude. And if people want to connect with you or find you, how can they?
Yeah, follow me on all streaming platforms, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, Zabbai. Keep it simple.
Let's go, dude. Zab, appreciate you coming on the pod, dude.
Appreciate you, bro.
It's been a good one.